today's video title is so random, but I'm so excited. I grew up in a time where every kid had a walkie-talkie. It was like the thing to own. And I did not realize back then that a lot of creepy and dark stuff go along with walkie-talkies. And that is what we're gonna be talking about today. I even asked you guys on Twitter to tell me the creepiest thing you've ever heard coming out of your walkie-talkie. So this video is about to get a little bit spooky. Before I get started, I just want to remind you that we put so many Valentine's Day plushies up on my website. I literally have them all here and I can't even lift them all for you because it's so difficult, but there's like unicorns and narwhals and super fuzzy narwhals. So if you were unable to get the Valentine's Day mystery box, these are a really cool option as well. And yeah, I will leave a link to those down below in the description. They are limited time as well, so definitely check them out. So, walkie-talkies. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, my sister and I were obsessed with these. We basically begged my dad to get us a set of walkie-talkies that we could use, and we would literally be in the same house together talking from different floors. I would be upstairs, Manu would be downstairs, and we would like communicate that way. We thought it was so cool because we weren't allowed phones back then. My sister and I didn't get phones until we were in high school. And in today's time, I see 7-year-olds walking around like,
hey, can I order a pizza?
Yeah, we weren't allowed phones. So walkie-talkies were like the next best thing. And it's kind of sad because if you ask like a super little kid now, like if they know what a walkie-talkie is, they're like,
a walkie-whatty?
Because people don't really use them for fun anymore. They're more used for like construction sites and hiking and like different careers, not so much for like everyday hobby use. Sometimes my sister and I would even play hide and seek with them. The rule was that you had to keep both walkie-talkies at full volume the entire game. So if you were the seeker, the closer you got to finding the person, the louder their walkie-talkie would be, and you weren't allowed to turn it off. I mean, we would probably cheat like all the time, but you know. We also took our walkie-talkies to Disney World with us when we went in 2004 because we were super worried that we would get separated or lost. I mean, there are giant crowds in Disney World. It's super easy to like lose your bearings. So it's kind of like a safety precaution. And it's actually super impressive how far you can be from each other and still like communicate. And that was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now, I think walkie-talkies can go up to like 100 miles apart and you can still talk to somebody, but those are like the high-tech ones. Do you know what would be so cool? If on my vlog channel, Ty and I played walkie-talkie hide and seek. In the dark, maybe? Anyway, so the creepy part of walkie-talkies that comes into play here is that every once in a while you would get other people that you don't know, complete strangers, talking through your walkie-talkie. Because sometimes connections sync up, you're on the same line, and that is where a lot of today's creepy stories come from. So sit back, relax, throw out your walkie-talkies. I'm just kidding. So let's get into a bit of walkie-talkie history. This is gonna be super short because it's not like super intriguing. The walkie-talkie was first invented in 1937 by a Canadian man named Don Hings. Okay, just pause. This actually blowed my mind. I thought that walkie-talkies were maybe invented in the 80s or 90s, but the 30s? Guys, they didn't even have cell phones back then. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, walkie-talkies benefited soldiers that were immersed in battle, and they became substantially more popular with recreational users, including adults and children, during the 1970s and 1980s. And back in the 80s and 90s, they came in all of these like cool, funky, like bright colors and designs. I think the ones my sister and I had were just gray. Anyways, let's get into some true creepy stories of people that heard something very strange coming from their walkie-talkie. The first one is about a group of friends who went to Walmart with their walkie-talkies and they were just messing around, running around, playing tag and hide and seek. And everything was fine, but out of the blue, a loud, deep male voice came from the walkie-talkie and said, "Mayday, mayday, mayday." Mayday is basically an emergency distress signal. They said it sounded like someone speaking from an aircraft headset, which is super scary. They tried to answer back, but there was no response. They called 911 and said what happened, and the police said they couldn't find any aircraft that was in any distress near them. So they said it was just a very unsettling experience. Now, there was a myth going around back when I was a kid. There was a legend going around that if you ever heard the sound of your own voice coming from your walkie-talkie, it was bad luck and something terrible was about to happen to you. They said that especially if you were playing hide and seek with walkie-talkies, if you heard your own voice come through your walkie-talkie, you had 30 seconds to run and get out of the house. Isn't that scary? It was like a creepy ghost story. It freaked everybody out, including myself. There was this one time my sister and I were playing hide and seek, and I could have sworn I heard my own voice say, "Ready or not, here I come," from my walkie-talkie. I was so spooked, threw it across the room, but then I came to my senses and I was like, wait, it was probably my sister's voice. We are sisters. We probably sound very alike. But just think about it for a second. Your own voice coming from your walkie-talkie. No thank you, goodbye. There was another story of someone who was playing hide and seek with their walkie-talkie, but it was after midnight in pitch black at 3 a.m. The rule is that at 3 a.m. the seeker has to count down from 50, and they had to do it while on the walkie-talkie so everybody else could hear. But what was strange was that the more the seeker counted down, the lower the numbers got, the deeper the voice got, and the slower the voice got, almost as if it was going in slow motion. When the seeker got to 0, everything was completely silent in the house. The person wrote that it was the scariest 30-minute game of hide and seek that had ever happened, and when the seeker found everybody, they told the seeker how their voice oddly changed, and the seeker had no clue that happened. So maybe don't play walkie-talkie hide and seek at 3 a.m. Before we end this video, I just want to talk about some of your weird experiences with walkie-talkies. Jordan Love says, I heard someone say, "She's face down in the lake." I have no idea what it was. It was a deep voice. It wasn't human. It was a growling voice, if you get what I'm trying to say. That is super creepy. Lulu Cat says, once I was playing detectives with my sister when I was little, and we were in the forest part of this park, and I heard a loud voice over the walkie-talkie shouting, "Get back here, get back here, get back here," over and over again. It was so creepy. I feel like if I heard that, I would just think it's my dad, telling us to come home. Shiny Shy says, it was like those kitty toy versions. My brother had one in his room and I had one in mine. He used to keep his on top of his dresser. One night when I was 7, I turned mine on to see if he was awake, and I heard this gnarly breathing sound. Lovely! Valentina says, once I was at a hotel and my dog got walkie-talkies, me and my sister turned them on and we could hear the conversation between police officers. I couldn't understand the conversation because English isn't my first language, but I turned it off because I thought I was gonna go to jail. Yeah, sometimes you can actually connect your walkie-talkie to a police talking line by accident. Obviously you shouldn't listen to their conversations, but I don't think you'd go to jail if you do it by accident. Otto's left toe? Someone had a walkie-talkie and was on the same channel as my brother and I. They talked to us through it. Sounded like an old woman. I was 10 and he was 7. It was so weird. And lastly from Daybreaker, it says, I see you little girls by the bones. This was sung over and over in a creepy grandma voice. Excuse me?
I see you little girls by the bones.
That's actually terrifying. Probably the most terrifying one there. Anyways, guys, if you want to put some creepy walkie-talkie stories down below in the comments, definitely do so. And if you would like to get some Valentine's Day plushies, the link is down below in the description. But I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!